at the hand of the Winnipeg Jets. I'm Josh. We got Coombsy and Waz here with us today. We're going to wait 1 minute and allow the people to roll in on all the different channels, streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch right now. Fellas, we have got a lot to talk about. First of all, pleasure to have you both here with us today. We need to talk about not the state of the nation, the state of the Edmonton Oilers. Because I don't think anyone predicted this to happen, for the Jets to come into Edmonton and steal two at Rogers Place. Coombsy, I'll start with you, buddy. Your panic level out of 10 for the Edmonton Oilers right now?
Probably like a 5.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm fully panicked, but I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not panicked at all. So I'm right in the middle. I mean, the one positive thing is that I don't know if home or away really means that much right now. There's no fans regardless. So you're going to be playing in just an empty box wherever you are in Canada. It doesn't matter. So
yeah,
there isn't that much of a shift. I mean, the Oilers could easily figure it out and go back and win these two games in Winnipeg. Winnipeg doesn't have like a substantial advantage here. If it were normal games and they were down 2-0 going back to, 17,000 excited fans or however many fans they can house in Winnipeg. I don't know. Is it fucking like 10,000 people?
Yeah,
whatever it is.
I think there's maybe 10,000 people that live in Winnipeg. I
have
don't
a
think you could
roof?
even
I don't
pack.
know.
I don't think you could even pack the arena fully.
So yeah, whatever that is, but at least there's no fans, so there's something there.
And the Oilers have been great on home, the Oilers have been great on the road this season. Tyson Barrie made a comment in his post-game interview last night that said, we're a team that's very confident playing on the road. We have been all season. Our record goes to show it. Waz, I'll come to you, buddy. TikTok extraordinaire Waz. If you haven't seen him yet, we're happy to have him here. He's new on the team. Waz, your panic level out of 10 for the Edmonton Oilers?
Honestly, I'm at a 5 as well with Coombsy here. I'm optimistic. I mean, we're only down 2-0. We've seen in the past teams come back from 2-0. There's a lot of people saying, oh, the sweep and bound. I mean, if that was the case, then every team that's down 2-0 had been swept. I mean, let's say 2017, we were up 2-0 against Anaheim and we lost in 7 games. So I wouldn't panic too much. I mean, we haven't played poor, right? Like, we haven't been blown out. We're creating good chances in a sense. I'd like to see more offense within the whole team, obviously. I think everyone would. But it's just Connor Hellebuyck. Once we can find a way to break down Hellebuyck and beat him, we'll be fine.
I'm pretty honestly surprised at how positive the Facebook comments are right now. I'm looking at the Facebook comments and people are like, man, if you don't believe in this team, then cheer for another team. People are confident. Oilers in 6, Oilers in 7. I think the biggest topic of conversation for us today, fellas, is we need to talk about the lineup. A lot of people on Twitter are clamoring for a few different changes. We will get to that. I'm going to look at a couple comments here. First of all, we're also going to talk about which Oilers need to step it up. I know there's a few answers that are pretty obvious about, some of the key contributors on this team that haven't necessarily done much offensively so far. Coombsy, let's start with lineups. I don't know if there's necessarily anything you could do that's going to all of a sudden magically be the answer for this team. I don't necessarily think that Caleb Jones coming in on your third pair on the left side is going to all of a sudden make Connor Hellebuyck let in goals. I don't know if taking Zach Kassian out of the lineup is all of a sudden going to make Connor McDavid get on the score sheet. But there's opportunity here for a couple new bodies to get in the lineup. And I'll start with you, Coombe. Are you looking at any players, especially in the bottom 6, to maybe take a seat and another new guy come in?
Yeah, I'd say getting Tyler Ennis in the lineup would probably be a positive. I mean, I really doubt that's going to be a game changer, but I do think the key thing to do is split the two big guns up again and go with the two top 6 lines. If you load up the McDavid-Draisaitl line, sometimes it works, but it makes it so much easier to shut them down, right? You focus your best defensive players on dealing with them, just load up the blue line and then clutch and grab as much as you can so they can get nothing going. But if you have, them on separate lines and then you do Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Yamamoto, that was so effective last season especially, then at least that's, 30 minutes of even strength a night where you have those two lines on, that it's a lot harder for Winnipeg to put together a shutdown unit to deal with it.
I've been a big advocate this season of playing McDavid and Draisaitl together. I thought that the play was to go to McDavid and Draisaitl together following game 1. And, if you would have thought that with them two playing the full 60 together, that they were going to put up 0 combined points, that would have been an absolute anomaly. And you would have been like, no, there's no chance that happens. Waz, are you kind of looking at the same, a guy like Tyler Ennis to come in, or what about on the back end? Any changes you would look at?
I like to bring in Tyler Ennis just because in the last couple of games in the season, he brought in a little bit different energy. I'd maybe consider sitting Cassian or Chase on. I know there's a lot of hype around Zach Cassian now, like what he can do in the playoffs, but we just really haven't seen much from him. And considering like just came off an injury, he was away for a few weeks. I think we kind of rushed him back, but I'd like to see Tyler Ennis drawn.
I listen. I don't think Tippett will do it. I would like to see potentially Zach Cassian be sat next game. Really, what has he brought to this lineup that, a guy like Tyler Ennis wouldn't? If you're playing in the bottom 6 on a Dave Tippett team, you're expected to bang. You're expected to get around, throw the body around, play a physical game.
Yeah.
But, I don't really know if Zach Cassian, who that's his game, if he's really been that effective in that facet of the game. So, I just don't know what you need and what's going to change for Zach Cassian. I don't know if there's all of a sudden a switch that's going to flip in his head to just be like, oh, you know what? I'm kind of interested in playing like I did in 2017. That would be quite satisfying for me right now. I don't know if we're going to see that flip of the switch from him. So, a lot of people agreeing, Cassian, maybe a one game in the press box would be the difference for him. And I'm not saying you're going to take Cassian out of the lineup and he's not going to play anymore this playoffs, but I just don't see it from Zach Cassian right now. Jay said in our pregame show yesterday, he gets one free game from me. Game 1 was a free pass. He didn't play well, whatever. Got to bring it game 2 or else that's it. And he didn't bring it game 2. Coombsy, did you see anything out of Cassian's game that make you feel like he should stay in the lineup for game 3?
No, I didn't. There's a handful of guys who didn't really do a hell of a lot, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But no, Zach Cassian, that was one of those ones where we were talking about it during the intermission show pretty much the whole game. We were really hoping to see him do something to spark some energy. We always reference like Rafi Torres in 2006 going around smacking guys, throwing huge hits.
Yeah.
And Cassian didn't. That's what he's supposed to bring, but he just didn't. So, I'd rather have Ennis in the mix. Ennis brings some skill, some tenacity. I'd be disappointed if he didn't draw in, and if it wasn't a lineup change for game 3.
Honestly, I would not be that surprised if we saw Zach Cassian come out and then potentially another body coming out of that bottom 6. I think that they're going to want to get Devin Shore in the lineup, and I think they're going to want to get Tyler Ennis in, which means 2 bodies in, 2 bodies out. I think the Shore for Cassian exchange is likely what's going to happen. But the question is, if you want to get Tyler Ennis in, who's coming out? He's a winger. He's not going to kill penalties, so you can't take out one of your penalty killers, although Devin Shore is a penalty killer, so that kind of gives you an added element, especially being a right-handed center that Devin Shore is. Is he a righty? I don't know, but he's a center.
He can play center, yeah.
He can play center.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of who you take out for Tyler Ennis. I don't want to take out Dominic Cahoon. I don't think that Tippett will do it. Have we seen a lot out of Cahoon? I don't know. Have we seen enough? That's a debate for itself. But I don't really know who else you're going to bring out of that bottom 6. You're definitely not taking out Josh Archibald. I couldn't see them taking out Alex Chason. I don't think they'll take out James Neal, but that's another guy who a lot of people said could be a big difference. He could be the Fernando Pisani of 2021 for the Edmonton Oilers. James Neal was. Have you seen enough out of Neal? And do you think that the foot speed is enough of an issue for him to potentially come out in favor of Tyler Ennis?
Yeah, that foot speed's a bit of an issue, I'd say. I don't think I've seen enough from James Neal either. I know there's a lot of hype surrounding him as well because of his playoff experience. You'd think he'd be able to get a few goals here and there, but right now, just with that whole bottom 6, Zach Cassian, James Neal, not enough. Alex Chason, there's been a few criticisms with him as well. I'd probably take him off that first power play unit and maybe put Jesse Puljujarvi on there. But other than that, I haven't seen enough from James Neal, Cassian, like we said. I'm not gonna lie, I've liked Jujhar Khaira's game so far. I thought he's been solid for his role. Yep. So, but yeah.
So here's a hot take we got coming in from Sean, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. He says, wouldn't be surprised if Ryan McLeod comes out, hasn't done much, and doesn't have the experience / playoff pedigree. Watching Ryan McLeod's game, there's flashes, Coombsy. I'll see flashes and I'll be like, okay, this is a guy that if he gets the puck on his stick in the right scenario, he could legitimately be a difference maker. He's got great speed. I heard them talking about it yesterday on the radio that if Ryan McLeod wants to be effective in the bottom 6, he's got to play physical. He's a big body. He's got to play physical. For me, especially knowing the type of coach that Dave Tippett is, if they took Ryan McLeod out of the lineup and then took Cassian out as well, and then that's an easy swap for Shore and Ennis, Wouldn't be that surprised. Devin Shore can be your third line center. You can slide up Jujhar Khaira and he can play that third line center role. Shore can play on the fourth line. If they took Ryan McLeod out, I know that would definitely light a fire in oil country, but it wouldn't surprise me that much. Coombsy, you think McLeod comes out? Is there a chance?
I don't see that really. I don't think McLeod's really been a problem at all. I mean, he's a rookie and he's penalty killing quite effectively, forechecks pretty well, backchecks pretty well. I mean, the way the Oilers are set up is they're a real like old school top six, bottom six team. And the bottom six isn't going to provide a hell of a lot of offense. And if they do, it's probably going to come from the unit that has Neal and Chiasson because both of them are scorers.
Yeah.
But the other line, the third line, that one with if you have McLeod and Archibald together, that line is there to shut the other team down. So, and that's what they have been doing. So I don't think that's a problem, really.
The only reason I think the Ryan McLeod would maybe come out is because I think there's a few other players, and let me know if you disagree, that would get the benefit of the doubt in Dave Tippett's eyes over Ryan McLeod. You know, he's a guy, he's getting into his first full season in the NHL, not even a first full season. And it's his first taste of playoff hockey. And if Ryan McLeod comes out, I don't necessarily think that would be a testament to the way he's played. I would think that would just maybe be Dave Tippett wanting to get other guys in. I think
there's been worse on the team than McLeod.
Yeah,
I agree.
For sure.
I agree.
I haven't seen. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go
I
ahead,
haven't seen many issues with McLeod. Like it's not like he hasn't been great. He has been bad. He's just in that little mix. I wouldn't be surprised if he's benched next game just because the amount of ice time Tippett's been giving him. So I've liked him at certain points. I don't think he's been poor. So I hope if he does play, I would hope to see him somehow get a goal. But right now, getting goals is a bit of an issue.
Edmonton Oilers down 2-0 to the Winnipeg Jets right now. Game 3 is going to go tomorrow night. The boys are traveling to Winnipeg. I believe it's a 5:30 puck drop. First half of a back-to-back. They'll play again on Monday night. And Coombsy, I'm going to start with you on this one. I have a bone to pick. I know we need to be very careful in the way that we word this, in the way that we criticize two of the best players in the world, but I have a little bit of a bone to pick with the top six right now. With the exception of maybe Jesse Puljujarvi, I don't think we've seen enough. Jesse Puljujarvi, in my opinion, has been one of the most dynamic and effective Oilers over these last two games, considering it's his first real full taste of playoff hockey as a top six forward on an NHL team. I thought he's played great. And I think that he's generating offense. Obviously, he's got the only goal that the Oilers have scored over these past two games. So, Coombsy, I want to take Jesse Puljujarvi out of the scenario. If you disagree with me, please. But McDavid and Draisaitl, I think, are the focal points that we need to focus on right now. We can't be too critical because obviously they produce and they have opportunities and they get chances. But have we seen enough at a 97 and 29?
No, obviously not. They haven't scored in 2 games. It is what it is. Like it's that simple. But the other thing here is that it's kind of a testament to the roster composition of the Oilers. It's not easy to go into a playoff series or a playoff run in general and have 2 guys on your team that produce all of your offense, because the reality is you become a lot easier to shut down when you don't have a handful of depth options to score for you. I mean, Winnipeg isn't a super deep team, but it appears they're deeper than Edmonton is. Like you're getting a goal from an overtime from like a Paul Stastny or somebody like that. Do we really expect the Oilers, third center to score a goal? Like you just really don't. Like that's what it was all season. It was 2 guys driving all of the offense, and now Winnipeg's figured out a plan because the refs have put their whistles away to shut them down by loading up the blue line, and they can't really bust through because they have 2 lines that just don't score. So, I mean, short term, the 2 of them just have to go nuclear and figure it out. But long term, this is a management thing. You have to change the roster composition. Yeah,
coming into this series, I was very clear in saying that if the Oilers' bottom 2 lines can stay even, they will win this series. If the bottom 2 lines can stay even, and likely you would almost always predict that the Oilers' top 2 lines would outscore the other team. So I said if the bottom 2 lines can stay even or positive, the Oilers will win this series. The bottom 2 lines have done their part. The bottom 2 lines have stayed even for the most part.
100%.
It's the top 2 lines that aren't producing anything offensively. So, Waz, I'll come to you. Is McDavid and Draisaitl, is it a kick in the pants for these two? Is it obviously McDavid is still the best player in the world, but it's time now, when it matters most, to start figuring it out. Coming up, game 3.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you think of the talent that McDavid and Draisaitl had, they should be able to figure out the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they did it all season long. Now come playoffs, I'm going to give credit to Winnipeg. They've defended them pretty well. Hellebuck's been on fire. But it's just whenever it seems Draisaitl and McDavid get hold of the puck, they just get hounded immediately. And so I'll just give Winnipeg that, the credit where they deserve. They've defended them very well. And I think like even going into game 2, people expected, McDavid's going to go nuclear. Oh, we're gonna win like 4-2. They're going to go off. It just hasn't happened. So I think at times it does look like they might be overthinking their decisions a bit. McDavid hasn't been able to really get on a good like breakaway at all. We did have a good chance on that 5-on-3 power play where Draisaitl, I think if he just got his, stick over the puck a little bit more, it could have been a goal. But yeah, they need to figure out how to break this tight defense that the Winnipeg Jets have brought.
And that's another thing, Coombsy, that kind of baffles me is that, if you were to say, okay, the Oilers went 2 games, they scored 1 goal, yada, 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 5-on-5, they didn't play great, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise. But the fact that they had a decent amount of chances on the power play last game and they still couldn't get one, that to me was a little alarming. Not to be too negative, it's only 2-0, but I think just the fact as well that they don't seem to have any rhythm on the power play either, that can be a little alarming as well. Would you potentially make a switch there? Would you look at getting Jesse Puljujarvi on the first power play unit, just considering he's one of the guys in this team that I wouldn't want to say has a hot hand right now because he's got 1 goal, but would you maybe get Jesse Puljujarvi on that top unit?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hot for the hot for the team right now.
Respectively, it's hot.
Is you're flying.
Yeah,
I guess so. I don't know, to be honest with you. Like, I know a lot of people have complained about the reffing, and they've said, like Winnipeg's getting away with this, and Winnipeg's getting away with that. But I mean, they did have 4 power play chances last game and didn't score. I mean, the 5-on-3 it was a real throwback to Game 7 of the 2006 Stanley Cup Finals with Jared Stoll at the side of the net, unable to put the puck away.
Yeah,
kind of it was just a very triggering memory there. But
wow,
yeah, a real throwback. You guys are probably too young for that, but
a little bit before my time.
Maybe
a little bit too young, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's going to need to come at even strength for them, regardless, because you can't guarantee that you're going to get that many power play chances in the game. It could go back to the way Game 1 was, and they get 1 opportunity or 2. Like, I don't know. I think last game getting 4 chances on the power play in a playoff game is a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you there because like a lot of people were like, criticizing the officiating in that game. But then again, if like we're getting power play chances, we're not scoring on them. We have to find a way to score 5-on-5, if anything. Like we can't rely on the officials. They always give us a call.
Yeah.
Let's tie it into last night's Oily Boys Intermission Extravaganza. We got Todd Harvey in the chat right now, and he just said, "Where's the Cassian meme? Todd Harvey demands it." I want to put it out.
Where is it? What you were talking about?
I had it ready to go, but it's only if Cassian was going to play on the top line again. Then I had the Cassian meme ready to go.
So you're saving it for tomorrow evening.
If Cassian plays on the top line again tomorrow, I will put out the Cassian meme on my Twitter. I promise. At Josh.
It better be good because you hyped this thing up like crazy.
It's not that great. I think it's funny, but it's not that great.
Well, you have another 24 hours to workshop it, so
I'll put some work into it. Well, actually, I can't really put some work into it because it's kind of already made. But I think it's funny. I think it would get some love. But that's only if Cassian gets in the top line again, Todd. Then I'll put it out. Promise. He says deal. Fellas, we would be absolutely delusional if we didn't touch on the fact that Mike Smith is playing out of his mind right now, and he's holding up his end of the bargain. I don't want to hear anyone come at me and say that goal in overtime was crappy. He could have let in a goal that bounced off the stanchion on the glass, went off of a defender's leg, and he could have shot it in his own net, and I still wouldn't have been critical of Mike Smith after last night, because he's the only Oiler that's really holding up his end of the bargain, with the exception of maybe JP and Archibald. So,
100%.
Waz, I'll start with you on this one. Did you expect Mike Smith to keep his game at this elevated pace in the playoffs? And do you think that him playing this well is a little bit encouraging, because then hey, if the Oilers can figure it out offensively a little bit, then at least you'll be in okay. Because if Mike Smith was playing like garbage and the Oilers were losing games, then it's like, okay, we got a lot to worry about here.
Yeah.
Because Mike Smith, he could maybe flip the switch and start winning it again, but like at least with him playing well, if the Oilers can just start scoring, they'll win games.
Oh, if anything, Mike Smith has been saving our ass right now, especially in those first 10 minutes of the first period yesterday. I mean, there was an opportunity the Jets could have been up 2-0 going into the second period, and Mike Smith was standing on his head.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame that people are blaming him for that overtime goal when, in fact, you can watch a replay. Adam Larson was kind of screening him a bit too much, and I think it was a slight deflection. It was just one of those lucky bounces that got past him, and it was an unfortunate way to lose the game. So I'm going to give full credit to Mike Smith because, like I tweeted out on Twitter yesterday, that was a goaltending masterclass from both goalies. No one wanted to be scored on.
Coombsy, Mike Smith playing well, Connor Hellebuyck playing just as well, and is this really turning into what's going to be a goaltending duel of a series?
Yeah, it seems like it. That's the Oilers have Mike Smith going like he's 2006 Dwayne Rollison. I mean, I'm bringing up 2006 naturally, but
It's okay.
I mean, that's actually honestly what's going on. And Mike Smith's in the zone. He's been in the zone all year. And I mean, if the Oilers can get any offense going, it really looks like the kind of goalie they can go on a run behind, because he was unreal. I mean, in the first period, the Oilers had some pretty ugly lapses where Winnipeg could have gone up 2-3-0, and the game could have been over in 15 minutes. But Smith stood in his head. And I mean, in the overtime, yeah, the goal wasn't the best, but again, I said this last night, you're not going to win the game 0-0. You don't blame a goalie when you lose 1-0. And also the defense on that shot was terrible. There was two guys back, and they just both managed to screen the goalie. Like if the Winnipeg forward is shooting from there, I'm sure you can, you don't need to be screening them or trying to block the shot. Like give them a lane so that they can see what's coming his way. That's basic stuff.
Throw in some Facebook comments. We'll get a few going here. Few minutes left on this edition of State of the Nation. Post-game, Oilers losing last night 1-0 in overtime to the Winnipeg Jets. Throw some comments in on Facebook. We will answer some of your questions. I think that if you didn't watch either of those games and you would have been told the Oilers are down 2-0, I think the easiest way that you would have been like, okay, it makes sense, is you would have probably automatically turned to goaltending. You would have been like, okay, maybe they didn't get two great performances out of Mike Smith. Not the case. Two great performances out of Mike Smith, and it's just the top six that aren't holding up their end of the bargain. So, like I said, that may be the only encouraging part of these two losses, is that Mike Smith is dialed in, and if you can get that top six figuring it out, then you'll be just okay. Waz, I'll start with you. Let's talk about tomorrow night's game, Oilers-Jets. I think it's a 5:30 puck drop. They're playing out in Winnipeg. What do you predict for a final score, and do you think the Oilers bounce back?
I'm gonna put a lot of faith in the boys. I think we're gonna come up guns blazing and win 4-1 and try and force a game 5. Obviously, my biggest worry though is if we play Mike Smith, it's a back-to-back. Are we gonna play Koskinen in game 4? That's what I'm worried about, right?
No.
So can Mike Smith handle that? That's the thing. That's what's worrying me right now.
They'll play Mike Smith both games, no matter what.
There's no way Koskinen's getting in the net.
Koskinen will
not after his he had a couple trial games before the playoffs there towards the end of the season. And it was like, all right, we're giving you a little bit of a look to see if you can play on this back-to-back, because that's what the expectation is, but God, he looked terrible. There's just no way you can put him in there. I would be more comfortable throwing in
Chris Russell.
String. What's his name? The Aaron Dell.
Yeah.
Or Stalock, sorry.
Stalock,
Alex Stalock. I just completely drew a blank.
Coombsy, before we get to your score prediction, couple comments coming in from Facebook. Bassam says Draisaitl looks lazy out there. Have you noticed maybe, I know, listen, I don't even want to say this because I hate it when they talk about this, the whole body language thing with Draisaitl.
It always looks like that.
Yeah, it's just how we always look.
He's always been like that.
Yeah, he puts up 6 points and he looks like that. He puts up 0 points. That's what he looks like. He's a big guy with hulking shoulders, and he looks like he's down all the time. He's a huge guy skating around the ice. Like, what do you expect? He looks like.
Justin Hamilton says, talk about how Nuge is getting manhandled 5-on-5. Yeah, for a guy that's on a contract year that is looking like he's asking for, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I know the Oilers and Nuge are still in conversations. I think they might have put them on the burner until the end of playoffs, but I think they're two different parties coming in at two different numbers right now. And Coombsy, considering that, not necessarily the play you would want if you're on a contract year in a flat cap.
If you're one of the Oilers fans who deeply cares about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins being around forever, then he put up a great season for you, because he is not going to be able to demand very much in free agency this offseason. It has not been a good season for him at all. 5-on-5 points this year. How many did he put up? Like 15?
Good question.
And pretty much a non-factor so far in the 2 games. I mean, most guys have been a non-factor, so I'm not going to single him out. But geez, man, like
5-on-5, he had, I think, one more point at 5-on-5 than Jujhar Khaira. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah, if you're a Nuge guy, then you should be happy, but also disappointed, because he had an atrocious season. But at the same time, he's probably going to get to come back on a much smaller cap hit than what he might have gotten, especially if he would have hit the free agent market.
I thought if he put up a point per game, then he, a huge season, he could have commanded like a Matt Duchene contract. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
put up a terrible year, and now it's going to be like, okay, I would be shocked if he got more than 4 years on a contract.
Yeah.
Coombsy, your prediction for tomorrow night's game?
I think they'll come back and pick up a win, salvage the series for sure. I think they'll win the game 2-1. I think Mike Smith's going to have another huge game. I think they're going to score. Yeah. I think they're going to score. I think what's going to happen is Winnipeg's going to score first in the first period, and then the others are going to come back in the second or the third with 2 of their own. It's going to be a big Mike Smith game.
You stole my prediction. I was going to say 2-1. I think this is going to be an absolute nail biter. I think the Oilers are going to score with 3 minutes left, and Oil Country is going to take a collective sigh of relief because they're going to pick up a big win in Game 3 and get this series at 2-1. It's not going to be easy. I do not think they're going to blow this Jets team out tomorrow night. I think it's going to be tight, and I think it's going to come right down to the wire. Either OT or they're going to score with like 2 minutes left, and they're going to win 2-1.
Yeah, please no.
Can't do OT again. Okay, fellas, it was an absolute pleasure. That's another edition of State of the Nation. Make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be doing these after every Oilers game the next day, either at 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whenever we end up doing it. So stay tuned. We're going to release it on the Oilers Nation social channels, let you know the day of what time we're going to do it. So make sure you come join us. And tomorrow night, pregame show with me, Jay, and hopefully Chalmers will be there. We'll see if maybe he will. And then always the Oily Boys intermission extravaganza with me, Coombsy, and Wanye going down during every single intermission and postgame. And as well, Waz, you're going to be going postgame live on TikTok again tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, of course. It's been a lot of fun. We've been getting like around 100 people tuning in. It's crazy.
Nice. That's sweet.
So hopefully we can get a win this time so the vibes are positive. Please.
Yeah, hopefully we can get the vibes a little bit better on the lives next
You're not
time.
just getting dunked on the whole time.
It's like me trying to find excuses on why we lost. It's like, well, let's play hockey.
Yeah, Coombsy and I were desperate and we wanted to go tarps off for the postgame show last night. We promised we would if the Oilers won, and they lost. So, Coombsy, are we going to sustain that promise for tomorrow night? Oilers win, tarps off postgame?
That's always the promise. Tarps off if they pick up the W.
Yeah. All right. Fellas, it was a pleasure. Get ready. Tomorrow night, Game 3, Oilers versus Jets. This edition